play well. And so, yeah, we'll start with recognizing 9/11 this week. And for those of us that were alive and remember that day, that was a tough week, and the first responders who acted and served and suffered, and so much was lost in that terrific, horrible act. In that morning and the day of it, and a lot of things in our country changed after that. And also my father's birthday passed 2 years ago. So, a heavy week of reflection and remembrance. And I want to recognize that. In regard to our game with Tennessee, first I want to thank our fan base. You guys were awesome. It was a great showing by our fans. It was an amazing atmosphere. Our team and leadership, staff appreciate your support, and the Dukes Mayo leadership team did a tremendous job. It was a great game day environment. And as far as the game, we didn't get it done. It was bottom line. And the game plan was to possess the ball, keep their offense on the sideline, have long clock eating drives that ended with a kick, obviously preferably with points. On defense, get off the field on third down, have success in that area and get takeaways, win the field position battle with special teams, and create a four-quarter game. And, 3:54 left in the half. It's 10-3. We intercept the ball. Bishop Fitzgerald makes a great play, get the ball on our side of the 50, move the ball down to the 16-yard line, and have a chance to tie the game before half. And that play was a huge momentum swing, the pick six by them. And we did a poor job responding after that play. And from that point on, the game just snowballed. You got to give Tennessee credit where credit is due. They played better than we did, coached better than we did. But our game plan was effective until that play. And so much to take from the game. You get in a game like that against a team that can score, you can't put your defense on the field on that side of the 50 like we did the entire second half. Too many turnovers, penalties, poor field position, special teams had a part in that as well. And just we're better than we showed, and that's disappointing. At the same time, it's a great opportunity for our team to grow and use it as an opportunity for that. It's definitely a loss in the record books for sure. I was happy with how our team responded yesterday. I mean, you could feel their disappointment, staff's disappointment, and at the same time feel their openness for growth and improvement. And so, when you have a game like that, it's a loss that you want to use to prevent further losses in the same manner. And there's a ton of opportunity to do that. And when we win, we all win. When we lose, we all lose. And there's no finger pointing, blaming. Everybody's at fault, and it always starts with me. And I look forward to the opportunity, to grow and to come back and respond the appropriate way with resiliency and grit, which is something that we've always done. And the best way to do that is to get back to work. And the formula is us. It's improving in a lot of areas, and looking forward to fighting the adversity and overcoming the things that we need to overcome as a football team. It's an early loss in the season. There's a lot to play, a lot of football in front of us, 10 games with all of our goals still intact. And I look forward to that. Our DNA has always been to continue to fight at this university and overcome things. And we got a lot to focus on. It starts with a great week of practice, meetings, game planning, fundamentals, and getting things the way we need to get them before we start conference play. And we do that with Louisiana Tech, kind of an interesting game. It's our third game. It's only their second. They had a bye week, so we only have one film from the 2024 season of their team. And they have a lot of new parts, 8 new starters on defense that are transfers, hired a new defensive coordinator that has done a good job in his career at getting the ball back on defense. Created a lot of takeaways in their system. It's a 3-3-5 like ours, but very different in their alignments, and a lot more zone defense. And keep the ball in front, tackle well, create turnovers. Offensively, Coach Cumby's from the air raid tree and spent a lot of time at Texas Tech. is a very, very good offensive coach. And they've got good personnel. I think the running back really jumps off the film, is a good runner. And so we got to get back to playing our brand of football. And I look forward to that. Our team did come out of the game healthy. And so, we'll have some growth in that way with when you're playing the same guys over and over and over, you can get better. That's one thing we're going to be able to do. So look forward to this week. Any questions?
Please raise your hand emoji if you have a question. James?
Yeah, Dave, you talked about the game plan going in. I wanted to get your thoughts on watching it back, just how you would evaluate your run game, maybe some of the things that you thought worked, some of the things you feel like you got to improve on after 2 weeks.
There's a lot we have to improve on. There's too many plays in our backfield for one. We had 10 tackles in our backfield in the game. Some of them were runs, some of them weren't. But it starts with being aggressive. And I think at times you try to be too perfect, and you got to get your O-line, your tight ends, your running backs all in sync. And there were some things that we did well. I thought our outside run game had some positive plays. Our inside run game, not so much. And we knew Tennessee's D tackles were going to be a handful. And those guys were really good players too. That was part of it. We just didn't stay on people long enough. There was too much penetration, and they did a lot of blitzing inside and mixed it up. So I think it's a combination of things, but it comes down to execution and my history with running the football. It starts with your 5 guys up front playing together and playing aggressive and getting vertical, and we're too lateral at times. And some of that's because of all the things we're getting, but some of that's just us trying to be perfect. And we just got to get back to the basics with the run game and look forward to seeing that happen.
And I just wanted to follow up. Hollywood got some extra work in this game. Just your thoughts seeing him now after a couple games as well.
Yeah, and we have 3 backs that we trust. And, it's like anything. He started to have some positive things happen on the field. And so, when that happens, you're going to continue to see guys, a hot hand, I guess you would say. But, he did some good things. He loves football. He works really hard. He has good practice habits. And, between Jordan and him and Kendrick, we feel like we have 3 backs that we can play.
Thanks, Dave.
Corey?
Dave, you mentioned, the reaction from the players briefly, but what have you seen from the players and the coaching staff over the last, 48 hours since the game?
What you always see after a game that you don't play well in, you see a lot of guys upset. You see a lot of guys ready to get back to work. There's lots of conversations about how we can do that. This is a group that, has some good leadership in it. This team has a lot of guys that understand what we need to do. And it's not like we haven't faced adversity before. So, it wasn't a lot of panic in there. It's just, we know we're better than that. Let's look at the film. Let's see what we got to do better, and let's get back to it.
And as a follow-up to that, who have been some of those guys that have stepped up? Obviously, several of them were on the team last year and saw what could happen when you show that leadership as well.
Yeah, you have returners, obviously, Davin Van, Sean Brown, Devin Betty, guys speaking up on defense. It's good to hear Grayson, Jordan Waters talk on offense and give their perspective. Our leadership council has a lot of strong leadership in it. And so some of it is vocal, some of it is more intentional about what they do when they're here. But there was a lot of guys that got up and talked about, things they've been through, how to overcome adversity and sticking together more than anything, because the way things are anymore, you're only as good as your last game. And so, there's a lot of overcoming the outside noise in college athletics. And so for them to understand that, stick together and get back to it.
Thank you.
Jaden?
Yeah, Dave, last week you talked about the importance of, building habits, building muscle memory in football, and you felt like practice went well last week. Are there any specific things that you can point to as to why that execution just wasn't necessarily there?
Yeah, we did practice well, we did. And there's a couple things, you played a really good football team in Tennessee. And so your margin for error is very small. And I've said this a million times, football plays are designed for 11 guys to do things right. And there was just too many plays where that didn't happen. And we were in that game, like I said, it's 10-3 and we're knocking on the door to make it a tie going in at the half. And it went the other direction. And when that happened, we got away from 11-man football. You started seeing guys try to do more than they need to do, and it wasn't good enough, and we've got to do a better job, obviously, of handling situations like that. And so it was a great learning experience for the team, not one that's fun to go through at all. But it wasn't a result of us not practicing well. I think in the heat of the moment, just some things didn't go the way we wanted it to, and guys strained the wrong way. Sometimes you try to do too much instead of just doing what you're coached to do within the system.
Aaron?
Dave, I wanted to ask you sort of a two-parter. One, you've had experience now bringing in quarterbacks from the portal. I'm curious how you would describe the challenge of maybe taking someone who is experienced but inexperienced elsewhere as opposed to your system and bringing them in and integrating them and getting them ready to go right from the start. And then sort of secondly, how you would evaluate how Grayson's done so far.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of quarterbacks transfer here, and so we've dealt with this multiple occasions. One with Grayson, we feel great about Grayson, and he's a really good player. He's a good leader. He's hard on himself. He was motivated to play better. He owns everything that he can do, and he's devout about going about his business the right way, respecting his teammates, doing his job. And so things didn't go his way the other night. There's definitely plays he wishes he had back. We can protect better for him as well. But I'm excited about Grayson McCall. He's our guy, and he's going to rebound well. But I've been through this with Jacoby Brissett, been through this with Ryan Finley, been through this with a lot of transfer quarterbacks, and Brennan last year. And sometimes it's seamless, sometimes it takes a while. And the thing that is different about college football more than ever is there's a lot of new parts on these fields. And, I think the guys from a chemistry standpoint off the field are really good. You're still trying to get that chemistry on the field in games, and you can practice. Is still not the game. It's not. And the things that happen, with the crowd noise, with the officiating and all the things that happen, game days are different. And so these guys are going to continue to grow and get better. And I think one thing we've done over time that people know, we're going to improve as this season goes on. And we got a lot of new guys on that football field, and so they've got to all do their part.
Noah?
Kind of going off of that, what have you learned, when using a lot of new faces and transfers and kind of be able to get them to mesh? What have you learned over your time to kind of work through, I guess, the early season things that don't go well?
You just have to have communication, you have to have open meetings with guys. You got to talk to your players. I know these guys off the field, like we've done a lot with that. But like I said, I've only coached them in 2 games, and so you're learning some of the things about them on game day. There's a lot of training that existed previously with other places they've been, and some of that was really good, and some of that doesn't fit here, and so you're having to change some of those things. But it's a growing process. Man, it's one I enjoy. I enjoy helping these guys, but it is different. Having that many new people, it's different, and so you have to be open to it being different. And it's not just an iron fist. Like there's got to be communication. There's got to be understanding on both sides.
Ethan?
Hey, Coach. I know you mentioned earlier that the team is healthy coming out of this game, but I know Zeke Corral had to leave the game early. So just wanted to make sure he's feeling all right and good to go for this week.
Yeah, like I said, we came out of the game healthy.
James?
Dave, I wanted to ask you about the legal formation on Belton. I know looked like there's an emphasis on that, certainly on the next level. Has that been something that's been passed on to you guys and maybe what you saw watching it back?
Yeah, he was in the backfield. You know, I mean, as an offensive lineman, you've got to have your helmet at least break the plane of the center's belt in his stance. And he was in a proper stance. He adjusted his stance 3 different times. And each time he backed up a little bit. So he's got to correct that. He knows that, and he will.
Ethan, did you have another?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about Jahad Carter. It was your first time to see him, and you had 8 tackles, I think, without a missed attempt, at least according to PFF. Just wondering how you would evaluate his football performance in a Pack uniform.
Yeah, it was good to see him out there. He gave up one down the field throw, one that I know he'd like to have back. And other than that, I thought he played pretty good. You know, he was in the right places. He shows his contact skills. He gets off blocks. He plays fast. He's a good communicator. And so it was great to get him out there. And I know he'll only get better with reps.
Do we have any other questions?
All right. Thank you. Have a good week.
Thanks, everybody.